Hey guys, Ark here, bringing to you Chapter 1, Episode 6 of my Learning Night Elf series. On this episode, we're going to be focusing on the base layout of the Night Elf versus Orc matchup. This is an example of a matchup that has changed quite a bit from both sides, really, since all the changes with the new patches. So typically, the old strategy used to be the Night Elf would go Masters of the Talon with Master form for Cyclone and try and play the game with 3 heroes. Now there's just a lot more variability in the matchup, so it can be very difficult. So this is a perfect example of a build layout that could vary quite a bit player to player. Personally, the one I'm going to show you is just a generic one that can be used for pretty much regardless of whatever strategy you're going to do. But I just want to point out to you guys, this is definitely a case where there's no hard defined rule of how your base needs to look like. So keep that in mind. You don't have to build it like this. This is just personally what I found works the best for me. So in this game, I do have Druids of the Talon, but it can be very utilized very easily for lores, or even for Mass Tier 1 with Keeper and Expansion strategy. So with that, we'll jump right into the game. You can kind of see the general layout looks very similar to the Night Elf versus Human and Night Elf versus Undead matchup. The big thing for why this is different is really more so the early game build. The early game build layout plays a big role in the Night Elf versus Orc matchup because oftentimes the Orc will try to harass at early game. Your base layout can impact how well you deal with this harassment quite a bit. One thing that I always try to focus on in this matchup is you always want a pathway around your Tree of Ages, Tree of Life rather. Very similar to the previous video, having this pathway is very important. One thing that is a little bit different is you can see these 2 Moonwells right here. Look at the distance between the Moonwell and the Tree of Life. I try to create almost like a choke point for running around that. Because if the Orc was paying close enough attention, they could very easily run the Grunt around this Tree of Life. But if you have this narrow choke point, it becomes very difficult for the Orc to micro this correctly and get outside of the Tree of Life range, as well as it also makes it very easy for me to archer block if I need to. So I always try to build the early Moonwells in such a way that it closes off the big spaces like you see right here and right here, while also restricting this pathway around the Tree of Life. Now, while you're teching, it doesn't really play a big role, but the strategy that I've been utilizing more is really been placing this Moonwell here first and determining whether I feel comfortable defending his harassment or not. If I feel comfortable defending his harassment, what I'll probably be the first 3 Moonwells will be something like this. If I feel like I'm going to be having some harassment that I have to deal with, I might look to place another Moonwell somewhere over here to add another pathway that it forces around my Tree of Life, just to create a little bit more difficulty for the Orc. So that's one key aspect that might deviate a little bit. As you can see, I like to put my units or buildings still at the back of the base in case I get attacked at tier 2 that they're going to try and cancel buildings. It also forces them to take quite a bit of damage if they try to do anything around my Tree of Life. So those are kind of the basics for the end base. I'm going to just quickly jump into the early game and kind of showcase that a little bit. This is in Night Elf vs Orc. The early base layout, in my opinion, is has the biggest impact. So again, we're going to place the altar closer to the direction of the creeps just to have a little bit more efficiency in how fast I creep. The next wisp out is going to be placing the Moonwell to create the choke point around the Tree of Life. So something like that. How far away, how close it is, I'll leave that up to your preference. I like to generally put it somewhere in this region. What this does is create a choke point around my Tree of Life to make it difficult for the Orc player. So I'm just going to take some of these out just to show the early wisps, or the early Moonwells. So from here, the next building that's going to directly impact your base layout going into tier 2 is going to be your second Moonwell. So this is really all that you have to control off of. So this Moonwell will typically, I'll typically either place it somewhere like right here if I'm having difficulty defending against a harass, I might place it closer to here, but typically I'll place it here, or I'll be placing it somewhere further away next to a tree line. The reason for that is I like to have more of my wisps in this location. That way, in case he does try to do any shenanigans with the Blade Master, I have a Moonwell close enough that I can easily heal it while I run it to my gold mine. So to me, these three buildings are the most important part of your early game base layout. On this map in particular, the base is very wide. Most maps, it's not as wide, so it's a lot simpler to defend against harassments when you have a base layout like this. So with that said, that brings a close to the episode of Night Elf vs. Orc. Next episode is going to be Night Elf vs. Night Elf. That's going to be the end of our base layout series. With the end of that base layouts, there's going to be one more section of the basics for Chapter 1. Then after the Chapter 1, we're going to get into more of the early game decision making. So we're going to get into Chapter 2 essentially. So with that said, thank you for watching this video, and hope you look forward to the next one. Take care now.